session is focused on analytics is changing the BPO landscape. For this, I would like to invite Mr. John Praveen, Vice President and Head of Foundever Technical Support as a Service. Mr. John has over 24 plus years of expertise in business process management solutions and a track record of leveraging cutting-edge tools such as analytics, intelligent automation, RPA, and customer 360 solutions for over a decade. John has successfully led numerous digital deals in the BPM industry. His approach revolves around a total cost of ownership and CX improvement strategy to effectively address client challenges. Over to you, John, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible? Are you all hungry? I'll try, make it not too long. Yeah. So quickly, Foundever has been a leader in the AI and analytics space in the customer experience industry consecutively for the last 3 years, right? Moving on, there's a lot of discussions we've had. We've talked about use cases. We've talked about generative AI. I don't think there's anybody in the room who's not talking about it today. We have talked about multiple use cases. I'll try to talk a little bit about the context, but I also think the title itself is analytics changing the BPO industry is so passé, right? Like I think it started way back 2000. We were doing operational analytics. I don't know how many Six Sigma, Master Black Belts, Green Belts are out here. All that was analytics, right? So very quickly, the evolution of the BPO industry. Think of the outsourcing that started when probably everybody followed Eastman Kodak's success and outsourced pretty much to onshore and maybe a little bit to Canada, right? I'm specifically talking about the US market. What was happening there, and pardon what I've got in case you're not able to see the fonts clearly. Outsourcing led to economies of scale, absolutely led to lower costs than they themselves doing it. Obviously, also there was much more ability for for them to focus on their core competence. Come to 2.0, they started offshoring. Along with it came regions like India, regions like the Philippines, and also along with it came Six Sigma, right? Way back, even in the 2000s, we were talking about Lean and Six Sigma projects, all descriptive analytics models, right? Pricing was, if you look at it, mostly hourly models. The previous one was probably FTE, model. 3.0, we are probably, going through that or almost on the cusp of finishing that. Analytics came into, in a slightly bigger mode. We started doing clickstream analytics in web. We started doing a lot more of propensity to purchase or propensity to retain or propensity to collect. We started doing VOC insights. We started using all the chat transcripts, case survey transcripts. I don't think anybody here who's from a BPO, everybody would have tried some of these, right? All of us would have sold VOC insights or whatever. So I'm not going to delve too much into that. Most of these were transaction-based, pricing models that clients came. Now we're talking the age of outcome-based models, and I'm going back to the topic again, analytics changing the industry. Look at all the sponsors here, right? Everybody is looking for a piece of that BPO pie, and the number of AI organizations, if you just look at, even India is easily in the 4 figures, if not 5, right? I'm not talking about the global world, right? So absolutely every bit of it, we are talking about, hey, how can we, get into, maybe recruitment, training, delivery, how can we evade that with, virtual agents, yada, yada, can go on, right? But what are we doing? I'll start with descriptive analytics, started even with the Six Sigma part of it, absolutely descriptive analytics. Today, almost every company is probably doing Power BI or Click or Tableau integrated as part of your operations, giving it readily available for your, leaders. So, I think that's become table stakes, right? We're not even discussing that. Everything is part of your, normal, contact center operations. Predictive analytics, we were doing a lot of this. How many of you are here from the WFM organization? I know there's one more conference going on there, but is there anyone from the WFM side? Okay, even if not, all the forecasting that we have done, forecasting what's the call volumes, staffing to, pretty much taking the seasonality, taking the historical call arrival patterns, yada yada, and then getting that was all predictive analytics. But even 10 years back, we started looking at, hey, if we were to try do call these particular customers, what's their propensity to purchase? Should I put like 1,000 people calling in, or should I try to be a little more smart, have a lead scoring model, identify who I should target, therefore I need only 50 people to create the same revenue, right? I'll probably talk about some of those examples. Then comes prescriptive analytics, which is more of your optimization models, very relevant in today's times, like, if you want to say, optimization of how do we get the hybrid, remote setup possible, how do we get the right optimization of infrastructure, also, very prevalent in healthcare segment, right? How do we have the inventory optimized there, all the healthcare inventory optimized in the right way. Diagnostic analytics, today I think most of us are also talking about process mining, absolutely a use case of that. How do we start understanding the process? How do we start mapping the process, overall? Some of the use cases, I think I touched upon that a little bit. Recruitment, right? What's the right profile? A lot of times, this is more descriptive analytics, but if we have all the data of people who we hire, who are scoring pretty well in training, training thresholds, and then performing well, based on the quality scores that they are able to get. But imagine you need to have that data warehouse, right? Today, these are in silos. Recruitment probably sits in a HCM somewhere, like, they use a application which is more for hiring market. Then comes training, which is sitting in a learning management tool. You probably use then to find, like, what's their scores, what's their threshold, how did they fare there. And then you come into the delivery side, you're probably in a quality management tool, which helps with coaching, feedback, all of that, right? But if you're able to marry all this together and identify who are the guys performing well on the floor, and then go look back which consultants are giving you that, what's the source of your hiring, for that. Are they coming from digital, streams? Are they coming from this particular consultant? What's their threshold? How did they fare in training? That's basically the formula that we're trying to crack there. That's the hiring the right profile, right? And also you can also say, like, hey, those who have been able to stay on with the organization. Not necessarily always like, you have the great performers, but they also need to stay on with the organization. Screening for the right profile, right? Like, now you've gone a little bit forward, you brought it real time. How can we use conversational AI bots to screen, right? Again, something that I see a lot of usage in the industry, because it's much more easier to do that. It's, us using our internal, resources for that. A lot of times you don't need to go get an approval from a client to start hiring, to start putting a bot in the screening process. So absolutely, the recruitment side comes in. Very similar, training simulators. How do you use a bot to train an agent, right? Reverse the roles. Now the bot becomes a customer, and you're giving the ability to your trainees to practice this more often, right? And again, probably 3-4 years in the system now. So anything 3 years, I'm assuming it is much more mature today, because all of us are quick to pounce on all these new solutions that are coming up. So training need analysis was always there. Today it can be much more automated. I know some of the initial speakers from ClearTouch talked about it. Kore could have talked about it. Most of them bring that through their insights. They bring it along with refresher training modules. They bring micro modules into it, micro training modules based on training need analysis. That's brought in. So some use cases that I'm talking about, I'm not going to delve deep into agent assist, interaction insights, or coach assist, or performance management. You probably heard that, 5 times before, today, right? So I'm not going to delve more into it. Probably the wrong slide. I had a different version. So the other version is where I will spend a little bit of time. How do you use, analytics to generate either of those 3 outcomes, right? Business outcomes. You're either trying to increase customer experience, right? Or you're trying to reduce cost, or you're trying to increase revenues, or in most cases, you're trying to do all three of these, right? So I'll take a couple of examples. One is a collaboration platform, right? SaaS provider. Think of any SaaS providers. Their bigger concern is increasing adoption. How do they increase adoption? How do they increase retention? Adoption then obviously correlates to expansion, retention there. So when this customer, came to us, we talked about, them facing a lot of competition, and they took a very small segment, small and medium business segment, less than $5,000 monthly recurring rate, right, of less than $5,000. So they carved out a very small segment of their customer base and said, hey, we need to increase the retention here, and when we say retention, it has to be done through adoption and expansion. Adoption is basically more usage and more usage of the different features, etc. So this is a collaboration platform. So typical measures is how many minutes are they using that particular system, right? Think of Teams, think of Google Meet, think of all those, right? So if you have an enterprise license for that, if you're continuously using it, you're going to renew your subscription. Otherwise, you're going to say, hey, can you please cancel that? My team's not using it. We've got 10 licenses, only 4 are using it. Can we please cancel the 6 licenses? So that's the scenario you're going to get. So when we looked at it, we initially got into model building. We tried to build on, hey, who are the ones who are more prone for churn based on adoption. We obviously enhanced data to apart from usage metrics, we got typographics or firmographic for the organization. Added that, build a model for churn. I'm talking about this model easily 8 years back. Okay, so this is not something very new, guys, right? Almost 8 years back. So when we did that, what happened was we ended up accelerating the churn. We realized, hey, these guys are going to churn now, than the others. We identified the ones. We did a churn model, right? We identified customers who will have a higher propensity to churn, and said, hey, can we try go save them? So we had like outbound campaigns to save them. What happened was, when we called them, customers found out, oh, do I have a license? Can you please cancel that for me? So instead of actually saving them, we ended up accelerating, the attrition there. Very quickly, a couple of weeks, we realized, hey, we have to do within this, because now even the 2 weeks of data was good enough for us to have a response model to then build a retention-based model, right? Now, who could we retain? Who could we expand or upsell to? We built that, then the story changed. The story changed. We started increasing adoption. We started increasing retention. We started increasing, the sale or the MRR that, average MRR per customer. The second one that I wanted to talk to you about, the first one that I talked to you was outright, model-based engagement. The second one I wanted to talk to you about, is, I think we're talking about multiple conversational AI platforms here. How do we use conversational AI to change the game? We talked to a leading e-commerce provider. Came to us, said, hey, their cost is today so much. They have voice and chat today done out of probably a nearshore location. We tried to take them offshore, but we also told them, hey, we will bring in conversational AI and significantly reduce your costs. But we did something else, right? Typically what happens in a chat, most of you who are in the customer experience space, who handle chat, at least 5 years prior would know there'll be a chat button. If you go to a customer care page or a contact us page, or a support page, there'll be a chat button. Somebody will go click that chat button, and then there will be a small pre-chat form. You will fill that up, and then you get connected to an agent. Now we are saying, hey, we will have a conversational AI come and change some of this. But we also said, hey, we will use this as a customer engagement strategy than just customer support. So therefore, what we started doing this was we started putting this in all the pages, right? Because now you're not looking at it just as a support element. We started looking at this as how do we enhance revenues as well. We put this on all pages. Long story short, we reduced the cost. we deflected almost 70% contacts. And when I say deflected 70% contacts, the contact volumes increased 2x because now we are chatting with people who didn't intend to chat with you, who don't have an issue. It ended up going, 2x. We deflected 70%, but we also started creating 12% of overall revenues of that organization through the website was now coming through our, platform and agents. That's another example I wanted to leave with. Now, what are challenges? First challenge is pretty much the contradictory thing, right? Where do we start? Now, if you start with a conversational AI or a non-linear solution, you obviously lose your existing revenues. That's your first. That's your first thing that you challenge with, right? Your existing operations head will have a revenue target, and he doesn't want to give up, saying like, hey, let's cut this down. Let's go to conversational AI, reduce the overall revenue or overall cost for the customer. So with an existing customer, there's a big challenge. Two, even if you go from an existing customer out into a new customer, data availability, data quality of how you get that, enhancements needed there, absolute, areas for us to, that's probably half the problem solved. If you get till that stage, that's, then you probably don't have too much to worry about, because what happens then is if availability is there, your client's InfoSec is signed, your client's IT team is signed, client's business is signed, and now you got to a stage where you got the data, you got it cleansed, you got the data quality grade, 50% of your problem is solved. Then comes your skill gaps, again, data siloed, how do you bring them all together? Finally, in today's world, privacy and security concerns. How do you handle that, right? Because today there's much more, there's GDPR, the California state has enacted their law, India's coming up with their law, China's come up with it. So how do you react to all this? How do you handle data, complying to all these, security regulations? That's another thing we need to think about. Future trends, I think, increased adoption. I think I don't need to explain. Everybody here already talked about generative AI, and if you just look at how much everyone is investing, probably Accenture is investing like a couple of $1 billion. Capgemini is probably investing another couple of $1 billion. So multiple people are already there. That increased adoption is only going to go higher, and edge analytics and also IoT analytics, right? There's going to be data produced from multiple machines, multiple products. So you're going to have much more data available, and how do you have analytics at the edge is going to be very key. Yeah, industry analytics already there. Domain-specific analytics is absolutely key. And finally, cybersecurity. I could go on. There's metaverse that's pretty much coming. There's blockchain coming. There's with all elements where there's data coming and your business is going to be in virtual. This is going. Your analytics is going to play a key role. I think I'm done. If you have, I don't know if you have. I have time for questions. Do I?
We're running a tight.
Okay.
We have a tight schedule.
Fine. I'll be around in case any of you have questions. We'll be more than glad to take that. Thank you.
Thank you, John, sir.